the global north, usually by teams that look nothing like myself. Yet, I am being the most impacted by these choices. My generation is the one that is suffering the most of decisions being made by platforms, by...
So this gentleman here, he is a board member of the UN Global Compact, and today he'll be recounting key principles and learnings from his 20 years at the helm of Schneider Electric and why empowering all is the only way to make a real impact. Please, once again, take your left hand and your right hand, and please help me welcome Jean Pascal.
Good afternoon. Very difficult to take the follow-up of such a discussion before, right? I'm going to speak about companies. I'm going to speak about transformation. There is a lot of love into that. It's a lot about people and how we work together. But my discussion will be quite technical. So I've been tasked today to speak about a business case, a storyline, which is a transformation of the company I've been leading for 20 years, Schneider Electric, around the following topics: how the incorporation of sustainability can profoundly change a company, how while we always hear that you have to choose between sustainability and economics, we, I think, have proven that it's just the contrary. You can put sustainability and economics together and they sort of catalyze each other. And more so, what I've been tasked to do is to explain to you how we operated that transformation, which was a pretty big transformation. And there was this first question which was asked just before by Akaya, which is, what's power? I hate the word of power. I know that it's very often associated to companies, but I think the way I see it, and it has been sort of said, for me I see it, the capacity to coalesce people to have an impact around a common cause. And when you happen to do it across 100 countries, 100 cultures, while at the beginning, which was 20 years ago, you start with a company which was 80% French, still remains my accent, and I can't get rid of it, then I think you've made an impact on a global scale, and somewhere you can be happy of the journey which we together have realized. And all of this is based on people, on working together, on coalescing together. So this is what we've become. So 20 years ago, we are doing circuit breakers. Circuit breakers, for those who don't know, is the sort of small thing that you have in your home. You never go there except when there is an electrical problem. And we became that, a world leader in smart homes, smart buildings, smart transport, data centers, smart industries, utilities, smart grid utilities, and so on. Why did we operate this change? 5 billion people means 50% of the world population that we're going to be in 20 years. So it's a huge challenge. And who are those 5 billion people? They are the 1 billion people who don't have access at all to energy today on the planet. There are the 2 billion people who will join us in the next coming 20 years, and they will be mostly in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. And then there are the 2 billion people who today have a little bit access to energy, but they don't have enough access to energy to have a decent life. So my definition, and that's a long time ago, of energy, it's a fundamental human right for everybody on the planet. If you don't have access to energy, your life is miserable. You have no access to inclusion, you have no access to education, you stay at the basic things. So first duty when you work in my sector is to make sure that everybody gets access to that. Now you realize that doubling up on the people who have access to energy is bad news for climate change. Because climate change is about carbon emission, and carbon emission is all about energy. And if you look at the curve on the left side here, or on the right side for you, sorry, the red curve is where we go if we don't change our energy model, and the green curve is where we should go. It's pretty simple. We have no other choice but to shift completely the paradigm, and this is why we move from circuit breakers, which is you distribute things, you distribute energy, and we went to smart and green, based on digitization, and based to clean electrification, to provide energy to twice as many people, but while cutting by a factor of 2 the emissions and be back on the right track.
The United Nations Global Compact in 2016, the initiative celebrates visionary business leaders who carve a path for impact. From every corner of the globe, SDG pioneers are champions of the Sustainable Development Goals, dedicated to reshaping our world through their endeavors. Their influence extends beyond their companies. They are catalysts, sparking a movement that inspires and rallies others in the business world. The journey towards progress may be long and arduous, but together, our shared resolve holds the power to make a difference.
Sorry about that.
The ending session of UN Leader Summit 2024. It was a valuable lessons for leaders around the world to learn and also to prepare and to be responsible to be a leader. And the true leader purpose, as Martin Luther King Jr. said, it's not money, it's humanity. It's not publicity, it's justice. That's the true leader. Building bridges for humanity for a better tomorrow. United Nations Leader Summit 2024 at Javits Center. This is the Javits Center for UN Leader Summit 2024. The Climate Museum, the Climate Vulnerability. This map, based on work by the University of Notre Dame Global Adaptation Initiative, shows how vulnerable every country is to the harmful impacts of climate change, including extreme weather events, wildfires, floods, droughts, and sea level rise. It also captures countries' ability to respond. Sudan, Haiti, and Bangladesh among are the most vulnerable. What countries are least so? This is the Climate Museum, Javits Center, New York. Is the two worlds cause and effect. The history of fossil fuels started with injustice because the Industrial Revolution started with colonialism, transatlantic slavery. Continuing injustice is a key survival mechanism for the industry. The fossil fuel economy relies on racism and geopolitical domination to push its worst impacts away from places and people where social power is concentrated and toward vulnerable communities and nations. The countries that have emitted the most greenhouse gases, those have played a larger role in causing the climate crisis, tend to be least vulnerable to its impacts. Controversially, the countries with the lowest emission, those that have contributed least to global warming, are already most harmed by the crisis and most vulnerable to it going forward. A sustained focus on the reparative justice is required to end the fossil fuel era. This is the Climate Museum, Javits Center, New York.